everybody. Welcome to the stream. This is Casual Cactus and our regular weekly session of the Glassbreakers Guild. We are playing through Tomb of Annihilation. I would show you the cover of the book, but one of my Christmas presents was a nice leather book cover to make sure that the cover of the book stays nice and neat. Thank you, Nova, for that. We are running. We are running through Tomb of Annihilation with my friends and family, and we're having some fun with it. I think. Unfortunately, our numbers are a little bit low tonight. We are short. Stephen and Nat. Miss Nat, unfortunately, was feeling a little under the weather, and Stephen, gentleman and scholar that he is staying home to tend to his sick wifey. You know, he can't fault him for that. That's perfectly understandable. So we'll let you off the hook this time, Stephen.
Get better, Nat.
And get better, Nat.
Yeah.
And the time after, and the time after that. Yeah. You get the point. So here we are. It is session 17 of the of our Adventures in Schult, and as is normally the case at the top, we do a recap. We'll get to that in just a second. Just a few reminders before we get there. We are posting all of these episodes on our YouTube channel, which Scritch and or Griff, if either one of you want to hit the Discord or hit the chat with our YT, do the thing. This should be the linky to our
My Twitch name is so perfect because everyone
to our
knows
Discord
the word.
and to our YouTube. Do exclamation YT. You did that one? Yay! Yay! So we've got both our Discord channel is up and running now. The Happy Little Dungeon, run by myself and Griff and Nova and Scritch. So that's where we do a lot of fun stuff behind the scenes, as well as some in-character interactions. You don't have to be part of this campaign. Any role-playing character from any system, we're okay with that. Drop on into the Happy Little Dungeons tavern. It is called the Hag's Master. So you can interact with any and all other role-playing characters that might happen to drop by. You never know who's going to be there. So that's the Discord channel. We've also got some back behind-the-scenes stuff going on there. Some notes on what we're hoping to do here with the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel as well. Always looking for ideas for that. Always looking for assets that we can put into that, graphics, sound effects, things like that. If you want to help us build the channel out, we are more than happy to let you do that. And Discord's probably going to be the way we're going to take care of all of that. The YouTube channel has all of our back episodes here of the Glassbreakers Guild. If you are a little bit behind, it is 17 sessions in after all. If you're a little bit behind and want to catch up on the story, YouTube's the place to go. We haven't yet started posting our 4 to 5 minute recaps. That is coming up really, really soon. Probably have those up before we hit episode 20 is my plan. Still working on how that's going to look, what it's going to look like, who's going to do them. It may be me, it may be some of the players. We haven't really ironed all of that out, but we want to get that started before we hit 20, because let's face it, 60 hours of back video, that's a lot to ask of you guys. So we're going to start getting that up for you guys very, very soon. What else? What else am I missing announcement-wise? We did hit affiliate, hit it before the last session, so that is up and running now. Still working on our emotes for that, but we do have once we get over into the main screen proper, we do have audible alerts now for a lot of the different ways that you guys can interact here with the channel. So be listening for those. If you hear a Wilhelm scream, it is not my soundtrack. It is, in fact, a new follow. And if you hear Aragorn, that's a new subscriber. So be listening for those guys. We are, stabby emotes. Sure, Scritch. We'll look for the stabby emotes. So that being said, I think it is just about time here to get into the main setup. We have, as always, our lovely players: Lance, Kyrie, Danny, Nate, and Braden, and you will know them as Gideon, Brightpaw, Sploof the Mighty, Meyer, and Eliash. Yes, and that is an SH on the end of that.
It is now.
It is now. So, as we are wont to do here at the top, we go to our polyhedral random number generator.
If it's one, is it you?
No.
Oh.
And this week, the number 4 comes up. So, Meyer, take it away.
Okay, so here's what happened, y'all.
So energetic. You've just been sitting there doing the
Okay, so like all these things came out of nowhere, boom, 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 and whoosh, and we didn't die.
That was not inaccurate.
That wasn't completely inaccurate, but you're gonna have to be a little more specific.
Okay.
Do you even remember what happened last week?
Somewhat. I get the gist of it. Okay, so we went and saw the Oracle. They gave us each a charm. Pyre got one specific, and he conjured a fire genie?
A Freetie. And a Freetie.
Yes, that thing.
Which is a fire
Don't
genie.
call him a gin.
Yes.
Okay,
Learned
and
this. Yes, we did learn this.
because of the luck of the roll, he summoned his own mother. So we all got to
that was Keith.
That was all Keith. The luck of the roll was that she didn't kill us.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the luck of the roll. Anyway, we all got to meet his mother, and
Well,
We got
need is
three
a
wishes.
strong word.
Everyone else got to be.
So where were you there, Braden? Where were you, Elias?
I was
You were
hiding
in
it.
Iowa.
I was hiding
Yeah.
the hole. I know.
this guy's like peeping out. She gone yet? So yeah, he got 3 wishes. He wished for all of us not to be cursed, but that didn't happen. Instead, we got our original max hit points.
But
so-
we're still dying.
yes, we're still dying, but we're at the max hit points now, and which is good. The second wish was for an awesome power so he can defeat his enemies from his backstory. I forgot the name of the town or whatever.
Yeah, he got a power or something. We're not
Yeah.
sure what that is.
By the way,
Oh, did he tell you?
Yes.
What?
terrible.
And then the third wish is that he wished for his mother to be free.
How all genie movies.
Yes.
This is the last wish.
Not a
to freeze
gin.
Not
Yes.
a genie.
Genie.
Not a genie. Ifriti. But anyway.
And then after that,
Encounters with some dinosaurs.
yes, couple dinosaurs, T-Rexes, I think they were.
Yeah, well, there was the encounter with the 3 T-Rexes.
Yes.
Then there was the
The Allosaurus
Allosaurus.
thing.
then the
Yes.
Allosauruses. Then we had a zombie T-Rex brush past the
But
tower.
they were distracted and we didn't have to fight them.
Rip. F's in the chat for Bob.
Poor Bob.
For Bob. You only
That was a
lasted a
G, not an
day.
F. I'm a terrible, terrible typer. F in the chat for Bob.
And then we are continuing our way back to the boats to continue down the river and then onwards towards this area, which Land of Ash and Smoke,
Yep.
Peaks of Flame, all that area. Yeah, right here. So that's where we're headed.
Yep, and let's not forget what happened at the end of the episode.
Or let's pretend that didn't
Yeah, I
happen.
wish it wouldn't wish is it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I'm being perfectly reasonable
You
and using their
mischievous-
backstories.
You mischievous, clean-shaven
Oh,
DM.
that is correct. We got some night visitors.
Well, no, it was morning.
Or, well, yeah, it was morning. But they were in need of our shelter, and apparently their voices are known to some people we have in our group.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that would be accurate.
And as a good guy, I say we should help them, but I think I might be
If I
outvoted
recall, I
on
don't
this.
even think we've opened the door
No,
yet.
No.
No,
The
no.
only Pyre's
In fact,
the
I think
only
Pyre just told us not to open the door,
Pyre's the only one who's seen them,
Yes,
which is inconvenient.
which is inconvenient. Yes.
but
Who was on last watch with Pyre?
I was on first.
I think I might have. Been.
I usually go second watch, so.
I don't remember 100%, but I think I might have been. Steven, if you're out there, was I on watch with you? I think I might have been. But I don't think. I think I rolled a low perception.
I
Oh no, I think we were
think
all,
by
I
this
think we
point
were-
everyone was up, everyone was awake.
Yeah,
having-
it was
He-
we were having breakfast.
He was the only person who was atop this tower and looking down and saw the group of other adventurers. However, one of them spoke, and Eliash recognized.
Is
The
it-
voice.
Is it who I think it is?
Well, I don't know. Who do you think it is?
I'm gonna have my maul ready.
You're gonna have your maul ready. Okay.
I won't have it lit up, but I'll just have my maul in my hands. Just waiting for another sentence, because if it's who I think it is, ooh.
So,
So do you tell us that you recognize them, or do you just get your weapons out?
I just have my maul.
I'm going,
You just have.
I'm going
Honestly,
downstairs.
that's not a strange way of
No, that's really
responding
not.
to someone knocking on our door.
I'm probably gonna go ahead and ready some spells because like I'm not gonna. You had my soul. So. I mean, I'm not going. I'm
Thank
going to be
you,
ready.
Pluto Plateau, for the subscription.
Thank you.
Yay.
You're freaking awesome.
Meyer, do you want to go
I'm
to
gonna
the
go
window and talk to them?
I'm gonna go see who it is.
And I'm gonna like hide behind your thigh or your, I guess your shin, and
Careful, I'm
like
gonna kill.
be ready to. Oh.
Wait,
Sure you want me
where,
to-
where are you,
I'm
are
gonna
you
stand
gonna,
a
are
few
you
feet
going to
back.
the door? Are you going to the door?
So first I'm gonna look out the window, see who they are, see what kind of condition they're in.
Oh, this is a silly thing. I should like this is something that Sploof would do. He would probably look off. Who goes there? Of course I would.
All right.
I'm looking out the window.
All right. So, looking out the window. Give me a moment. Because I want to make sure of all of the details that I'm pulling up here. Yeah. Sure. There we go. Alright, yeah, there's that. And
Kick off so bad.
there's that. Okay. And I also
You guys might be dead,
need
but I think I'd be
some
okay.
more information.
We'll see.
Pardon me, guys. It was
I
a
don't know
weird
how this
day.
is going to turn out. And I don't know how another thing is going to turn out. So, yeah. This will be fun.
They're not answering. I feel like I should kill them.
Give me a second here.
Hello, can you talk?
No.
All right. So looking out the window, you see a group of. You see a group of 3 people out front. 2 dwarves, 1 male, 1 female, and 1 human female who looks vaguely familiar, but you can't quite put your finger on it right now.
Hey Keith,
Yeah.
did you count right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Alright, just making sure.
Oh yeah.
Just making sure.
Plans, wheels within wheels.
Just making sure you count right.
Is it a good one or is it a bad one?
Is there a good one?
No, not in my situation either. No.
How do they look? Are they like fairly good health?
Make me an investigation check real quick.
Investigation 0. 5.
5. It's a couple of dwarves and a human. It's kind of hard to tell right now through the window.
Okay. It's just 2 dwarves and some human. I mean, what's the big deal?
We don't know what their intentions are.
What do they want?
Who's there?
So the voice, the male dwarf answers you. He says, "We are desperate travelers in dire need of assistance. We've fallen upon hard times here in the jungles."
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Do we trust them? Should we let them in?
I mean,
They need our help.
it seems rather fortunate that they just happened to find our tower in the middle of the jungle when they were in need.
Ask them about their occupation, names, and whatnot.
What is your occupation? I feel suddenly
The
inspired.
Dark Tower whispers.
So you hear this sort of impatient female voice butt in. It's the human fighter. It's the human female. "Oh, come on, are you gonna help us or not?" It's a familiar voice.
Whatever Gideon is doing, like we'll say he's like inspecting his weapons and everything in the morning. He drops them. They clatter on the ground. He's like,
Are you okay? Did you
No,
sneeze?
no, no,
God
no.
bless you.
You pick up
I'm
yours.
gonna peek out, like just a tiny little tiny bit. So I just peek out a tiny little bit and see, is that?
Katarina. With 2 dwarves.
You okay there?
And I'm just gonna go and open the door.
I'm gonna hide behind the door.
Okay.
I'm gonna like weasel
Make
in
me a
front
stealth
so I
check.
can
Wait,
make an
you just open the
entrance
door?
or
Yeah,
anything.
I just walk over. I have like the deer in headlights look, and I just open the door.
I was going to tell them to drop the weapons, but okay.
I'm not gonna
Unless you
no, I don't
stop
have
me, I'm
inspiration
opening the
to
door.
No, I think we should help them. I'm a good guy.
As you open the door, I wedge my way in. I am the great and powerful Sploof. This is my abode.
Gideon?
Hi.
That was
What are you?
gosh,
What
that's
are you?
wonderful.
What are you doing?
Who are you? You know that?
You do.
Ignore the small green goblin.
I usually do, unless they've got my sword stuck in them.
I just look completely appalled and start to like make something.
You're here.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
She turns and leans out the door and just sort of gives a little whistle. And a few moments later, another figure appears out of the jungle. Also very familiar.
They're sneaks.
Oh,
They're
shit.
sneaky snooks.
No, one of
Do we kill them, Gideon?
I can guarantee one of them is.
No, we don't.
One too many nights of fun?
So the half elf that appears from the tree line and sort of makes a beeline is sort of talking a mile a minute as she comes. She's like, "Yeah, I had it all figured out. I was gonna jump here and do this and fling myself on the roof and
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome to the jungles of trolls.
I wouldn't have called that one.
Well, I can't vouch for the two dwarves, but this is my sister. And our
Hi. The one with the sword waves at you. Hi.
and our friend.
And she crosses her arms and just sort of sits in the floor cross-legged, sulking.
I'm gonna go throw my blanket over my sword.
Oh, I thought you were gonna throw it over her.
As soon as they come in, I'm gonna go over and like cover up the sword.
Okay.
What
So
is this?
yeah, what I am quite curious as to. Oh crap!
This is.
How'd you find us?
That was Charles.
Hello, Charles.
Wait, you know the dwarf?
Eliash.
This is Charles Darko, a second-rate archaeologist.
You know, if we were any place civilized,
You're not.
I would still kill you.
I would agree. We'll let that go for now.
Do you want me to stab him?
Wait on that.
So the female dwarf has been very, very just sort of quietly standing there, head down, not making eye contact with anybody.
So, Charles, what are you doing in the middle of Cholt with... Well, I have to remember. With Carol Ann.
We'll get to that in a second, Stephen.
The last two people I would wish to see in this jungle.
Well, you're in luck. We might be the last two people you see in this jungle.
Should I kill them now?
Just hold on.
Okay, so that was a joke or not?
I
I feel like this is
assume that you have heard the accounts of the death curse.
Yes, Charles, both me and you know about that, yes.
Yes, well, I don't know about you, but I want the blasted thing done with.
Shame. I hold the skeletal arm.
Then it should be readily apparent why I'm here.
Do I remember Charles dying?
Roll me an intelligence check.
Intelligence check? 11.
I mean, it was never while you were around,
Okay.
but you may have remembered a story about his close brush with death.
Okay.
He's a very private person.
I know. And so you've drugged Carol Ann with you.
Why, of course. Why wouldn't I?
I'll give you the signal. Should the time arise. Having a hard time trekking through the jungle, Charles?
He sort of does a once over around the room and very obviously picks out the bed that's yours. And he goes and he sits down on it like he owns it.
Okay.
Well, if you must know, yes. We've had a dreadful time here in these jungles.
I indignantly waddle up to him. That is not yours.
Oh, don't worry, it's just a bunch of empty books, just like him.
Yeah,
I shall have to let that pass as well. I do see that we do seem to need your assistance after all. Have your fun. Once we're back in civilization, turnabout will come.
And you get right up in his face. Off the bed.
Oh, go pick your teeth.
Oh!
But he does stand up.
How did you
No,
find
if
us?
anyone's gonna kill him, it's gonna be me.
So, how did you find us?
Well, that is a very very unusual story. That actually we were well, for lack of a better word, camping after our unfortunate exploits here in these dreadful jungles, and when we awoke this morning, we were not in the same place where we had made our encampment. And so, I mean, not that it matters, we were lost one way or the other, but we were even more lost this morning, obviously, and we started trying to find something, anything, and I'm not sure if you've seen the outside of this.
I've seen it. I know what it looks like.
It sort of stands out in the daylight.
Not in the dock, it doesn't. But
I'm gonna look at my sister and say, does he always use like double the normal amount of words he needs to say something?
Yes, sometimes triple. Because he still hasn't paid me.
Well, if you stab him, you can take what he has.
Have you looked at him? And
Probably.
everybody make a perception check real quick.
Passive perception 15.
Passive perception 15.
3!
You're
Yes!
I'm a bit distracted.
yeah, a little bit.
10.
10. Bright? 10 as well? Okay. 10 and up. They're looking a little ragged. They're
Not surprising.
the clothes they're wearing are torn in places, badly sewn together in others. The hems are ragged, like they've caught on vines and thorns. They are also scorched in places, like they've been through literal fire. And they're not carrying a lot of gear.
Like to travel light, Charles.
Oh, you know better than that. I was fully equipped for this expedition, thank you very much. And I lost it to that damn dragon.
Charles, a few steps back. Did you say dragon?
Why, yes.
There's a dragon in Schultz.
Well, yes.
Only a few people did that. Only a few people did that.
Yeah,
And
not.
no one else shared it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was information that was not shared.
And you survived.
By the skin of our teeth. I knew I should never have trusted that dreadful guide,
Which one?
old Hugh.
They went with Old Hugh as their guide? Wow.
Does this not have anything to say about that?
She just kind of snorts a little bit behind her hand.
Ooh, is that because I got shade?
Meanwhile, Artis and Dragonbait are just kind of leaned against the back wall, taking this all in.
Excuse me, Mr. Charles. Have you heard about
Charles
the
Darko.
Mr. Darko, Have you heard about the Oracle?
No, actually.
Maybe
Oracle?
We should go talk to the Oracle.
Yes. Yes, they should. Yep. That would be a wonderful idea. So the Oracle is, I'm going to start giving directions to where the Oracle is from here.
The Oracle has a lot of knowledge. We've recently encountered the Oracle, and we feel you could probably. Well, we've already had our discussion. If you would go and talk, have your discussion, we can meet up later and compare our information.
That seems like an unnecessary waste
Oh,
of
believe
time.
me, Charles,
Obviously.
the most wonderful architecture you've ever seen. Beautiful. The traps
Make
are
me
elegant.
a deception check, please.
You're not supposed to tell them about the traps.
14.
Yeah, he saw right through that.
Roll again.
He still saw through it.
Okay.
In all fairness, the Oracle is very generous, and they do have certain gifts occasionally they'll give out.
Such as what?
Might be beneficial. They are what do you call them? Charms with a certain effects.
Really?
I forgot what mine was.
And I'm saying it could be very beneficial as well as extra information.
Oh, there it is.
Interesting.
It would definitely be worth your time.
So Katarina's just kind of sitting there looking at you. She knows you pretty well, so what are you up to?
Nothing.
Sounds to me like my big brother doesn't want me around.
I would never feel that way.
No, it's just, I don't want Charles around.
Oh, well, I'm not going to fault you for that.
I'm just saying we've already had our turn with the Oracle. You might be able to get different information along with some beneficial charms.
So you've already been to the Oracle, you say? I assume then that this Oracle has pointed you in the right direction for the source of this curse, and he's taking a long look at every one of you, and there's, as you're looking at him, you realize this is one shrewd dude.
I know.
No, I mean, you already knew, but the rest of you, you're starting to realize this guy's got a lot going on behind his eyes. He's picking up a lot of things that you're dropping, and you didn't even realize you were dropping them.
Gideon,
Charles
I'm
is
gonna
very
message you. They seem pretty beat up. Maybe they could use a rest, so to speak.
You're probably right.
I'm talking about the sleep spell, but
I can do
You,
this.
you could try, but my sister's not going to fall asleep. Nor is our friend.
no, we're messaging.
Oh, message.
I would never say that.
Okay. I missed the messaging part.
I know who the friend is.
Oh, you can't. You're gonna enjoy my friend. Because there are two people you don't know relations to yet, which.
By the way, Carol Ann has sort of made her way around the circle of beds and wound up at yours as well, and just kind of very demurely sits down.
Okay, I would.
Touches. Get off the bed.
I want to make sure all my stuff.
And she
is,
jumps up like she's been scalded.
I would like to make sure all my stuff is with me.
Okay.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will make each of you your own bed next time. If there's a next time.
So the Carol Ann sort of leans forward. You did this?
Yes. For my minions.
very impressive work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Surprise?
I straighten my robe out a little.
It's nice to be appreciated.
Yes, it is.
My hat was kind of okay. Now I am observing.
What do we do with pieces?
If you would be so kind to just wait here while we go have a little discussion. I'll start walking towards upstairs.
I suppose.
I'm like right on your heels. I can't wait to get out of this
So
room.
meanwhile, Stephen, from your, in answer to your previous request, you're getting mostly straightforward thoughts that are supporting sort of the conversations that's been going on. The young, or the half elf, that's sort of sitting cross-legged on the floor, is actually having some very indiscreet memories concerning Gideon, let's say. And Charles is very much the calculating, wheels clicking, his ears perked up at the mention of the Oracle, and logic putting two and two together with the fact that he doesn't know where he's going, but he gets the sense that maybe your group does. So that's that.
We're going to the second floor?
Okay, we need to talk this over.
Are we on the second
So
floor?
party conference.
Yeah, buddy
What's
conference.
on the
So
Second floor
let me
beds.
interject
So you guys, I guess, were up there.
1 second. Who has the map? Okay, just making sure. Do you have it on you, or did you leave it on your bed?
Now that there are strange people I don't know here, I would probably grab my pack on my way up.
Oh, I have all my stuff
Okay.
with me.
Okay, just making sure. All right, continue.
Okay, so what are we gonna do about people?
Bless you.
Bless you.
That was adorable.
Obviously, you don't trust them. Obviously, you don't trust them.
I would say I don't trust them. I would prefer not to spend my time with them at the moment.
I think I'm about in the same area at the moment.
Were they useful?
I mean, I can't vouch for the dwarves, but
Yes.
my sister and our friend know they can handle themselves.
Charles is a great archaeologist and a pretty good fighter himself. He's also cleverly intelligent. Caroline is perhaps the greatest thief I've ever met.
So, would it be worth me perhaps copying your map into my spell book?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Have an extra.
I mean, we have several copies amongst us, but you have the master copy.
Oh, I know he has a copy.
Yeah, I've been
I
giving
have
him copies to
The one that I've
keep
been
going.
copied, that I've been making as we go.
So we have several copies.
So copy it.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair approximation of what's on the map, which is a fair approximation of what's in front of you there on the table.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna go ahead and do that while we're.
I'm not sure I want. I don't really want to take them with me, but I don't think I can just turn them out into the wild either.
My thing is I would prefer
Yeah.
them ahead of me than behind me, because my backside is very vulnerable
Really?
to daggers and magic. And I have ow.
Tells the truth.
Yeah. By your feet.
Since by your feet.
I mean, we're already exceeding past Nich's good berry supply. hinder us.
If only I was evil.
We don't have enough room in the canoes either, do we?
Nope.
They could come with us at least to the canoes, and they could follow the river back.
Well, it's about half a day to the canoes from here. We can walk into Shide on our way.
Good point.
I'm comfortable with that. And perhaps we should be honest and say that we are a party of friends, and there is not space in the canoe.
I would like to perception
that'll
check to see if any of them
Become
are hearing
apparent
us.
when we get to the canoes.
Make the check.
If we tell them that, like, if we divide into two
24.
groups, if one of us don't make it, the other can still make it.
They're nowhere near the door.
I think they need to head back to port. I don't think
Yeah,
they're gonna make
that's
it
not
all the
Charles
way.
isn't gonna do that. There's no way Charles will miss an opportunity like that.
We can suggest
Well-
it, and if they are incredibly
Ignorant.
persistent, then they can make their own barge.
Either way, they can't travel with us. We don't have the space.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying that if we tell them, let's divide into two groups, that way if one of us dies, the other group can still potentially move on and end the curse. We just tell them that.
How do you feel about telling your friend Charles where the city is?
Charles is very sneaky. He would go so far as to make a pact with the demons to get what he wants. He's almost done it several times.
But we have the canoe, so we'll probably be traveling
I
faster.
mean, look, the city of Omu would probably have several artifacts inside its walls, and Charles would literally kill to get those.
Is he affected by the death curse, then, I assume?
I didn't know he had died previously, but I had heard stories that he had an incident once, but...
Chief, do you have chat up?
Yeah.
Saying PC audio is pretty low.
Okay.
I think they can travel with us at least as far as the canoes. We can figure it out from there.
Also, I will say, watch your stuff, because Carol Ann is good at what she does, which is steal. So anything important, keep it close to your chest.
Good to know. Okay, are we in agreement?
Sure. I can stomach half a day.
We lose.
Just give me the alchemy jug and I'll be perfectly fine.
We apparently need to speak a little louder.
Yes.
Okay.
Just give me the alchemy jug and I'll be fine. I'll just turn its tap to beer.
There we go. That's fine.
It's fine.
Alrighty, let's go meet up.
Party council adjourned.
I start walking back.
Okay. Everyone is still right where you left them. Your sister's leaning against the door frame. Your friend is still sitting cross-legged in the floor. Charles and Carol Ann are, oddly enough, on opposite sides of the room from each other.
We've got 16 right now.
We got a big
There are
group.
16 people at this party.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Back up the tower sploof. I close my eyes.
I think everyone who knows what they're doing does.
Do you tell them?
Nope. Absolutely freaking not.
What's going on? Ah! Unfortunately, Carol Ann is the only one who loses her breakfast if she
Loses
had
whatever she had.
whatever she
Whatever
had.
she had left.
So she actually vomits all over the ground as the tower comes down.
Poor Carol Ann.
Don't pour Carol Ann.
Poor Pyre seeing that.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah, Pyre, Steven, Buddy,
if you can
give me a
actually-
Constitution
yeah,
save.
Constitution save.
And fast pace.
Okay. Yeah, we
Fast
should get a
pace
move on.
to
Let's book it.
to the canoes.
Yes.
Fast pace.
As we near
Okay.
the canoes, I
If you
suggest
assume we get there that fast.
Yes.
Well,
assuming we get to the canoes in a good manner,
In a
I
good-
would suggest stealthing. There are the giant lobster thing that we were told about. Could be lurking near the canoes.
So Keith,
Yes.
as we're walking, I'm gonna sort of like motion to my sister and drop back a little bit from the group.
Okay.
I'm keeping my navigator's tools close to me.
Okay. We'll come back to you. Yeah. So Katarina will sort of fall back a little bit, keeping an eye on the party ahead of her, and slip back to hear what you have to say.
So it looks like you guys have seen better days.
Yeah. Yeah, we have. It's been a nightmare. How about you?
Smooth sailing.
Actually, surprisingly well, given the circumstances.
Yeah, about that. How you holding up?
surprisingly well.
Surprisingly well, given the circumstances. There was-
You're actually looking healthier than I thought you would.
We had a little help on the way.
No, this is a private conversation.
Yeah, private conversation. You're not there.
I'm gonna motion to Pyre and be like, the fire genasi there. He,
Yeah.
worked some magic and
Huh?
bought us some more time.
That's lucky for you. So how'd you wind up with him?
We just sort of showed up.
Call it fate, destiny,
And got
the DM bringing two parties together. Who knows?
Well, it's pretty much the way it happened with me too. So
Yeah, you left without me.
yeah, sorry about that. Didn't want you slowing me down, bro.
Oh!
Ouch.
So,
Jungle's on fire.
Charles, he seems,
Sleazy? Yeah,
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
pretty much. Coin's coin. You know how it is. We are trying to build an army.
You're not wrong. Hang on, let me roll something. Gideon
Okay.
has to make a decision. Oh, Gideon makes poor decisions.
Oh, no.
Our Genasi friend up there might be able to help with that, actually.
Oh. Do tell.
We've worked out a deal.
Okay.
He'll help us if we help him afterwards. He has a beef with the city of Brass.
And by beef, you mean like a cow, right? Not actually trying to go up against.
More like tear it down and salt the earth.
Salt the earth.
Okay. Okay.
I think he'll be useful though.
Okay.
To be fair, he'll be dead in 13 days.
My brother.
You
It's
don't
okay.
know that.
It's all right.
We don't know. It should probably.
Well, all right then.
How's
You should ask her yourself.
I'd rather not.
I bet not. Okay.
So, how likely is it you guys are just going to turn around and go back to Port Nansru?
On a scale of 1 to never, you know how this conversation's gonna play out.
I'm going to pull out one of the maps I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pull out paper and sketch our map. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to circle where we were told Omu was
Okay.
and hand it to her and say, this is where we're headed. You're not going to listen when I tell you you shouldn't come. So be careful. It's dangerous.
She tucks it inside her vest. Like I don't know that.
City's overrun by something called Yamti.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know,
Can't-
but they sound bad.
Can't be any tougher than anything else we've faced, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. And then she goes on back to the rest of the party.
Wow, that easy, huh?
Anybody else doing anything?
So,
Wherever Serial is, I'm on the opposite side of the group.
Okay.
She moves, I move.
It only takes her a couple of tries getting close to you for her to kind of get the hint, and make me an insight check.
so what's she doing with her?
Tell that.
5.
You have no idea why she's upset with you.
Like every guy ever.
So what did you ask?
So why do you not like her?
She's my sister's friend. We never really got along.
The overprotective friend type deal? Or
You want to make a deception check on that, please?
what is it, insight?
Yay! Just roll. That's
Oh
better.
yeah. That's like a 21.
He's lying.
Totally
Yeah,
lying.
he is totally full
of shit.
of shit.
Absolutely full of it.
Okay then. We'll leave it at that.
Bright, what you doing over there? You've been a little quiet tonight.
Let's see.
Subtle. Nice.
So nice.
Okay, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the thief.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm just
Yes,
just
try
gonna
to
be
out
observing.
thief the thief.
Yeah, I'm gonna see like
Okay.
what she has on her right now.
All right. So first, I would love an insight check.
Okay. 14.
14. Okay. Can't really put your finger on it, but she seems a bit off. She's either really playing the demure, sort of quiet part really to a T, or she really is quiet and demure and sort of cowed. And you can't really tell which. Now, investigation check. Unnatural 20. She's not carrying a whole lot with her. She's got just a couple of daggers on her belt that look like they've seen better days. Like she hasn't sharpened or oiled them in several days. You're not even sure that she's got the equipment to do that. Her pack looks ragged, looks like it's torn open a couple of times and been hastily repaired and not well at that, and there's not a lot in it. And she's got a really like messed up bedroll.
Well, I'm going to continue keeping an eye on her.
Okay.
But while we're traveling, I am going to be playing my flute.
All right. I will take a performance roll then.
I would be like, oh no, you're going to attract the monsters, but we have 16 people.
Yeah, we're gonna attract monsters anyway.
We're also going at a fast pace. We're not
Ira
trying.
also wanted me to let you guys know that he only ever he keeps referring whenever he has to talk to me or my sister
15.
as Princeling and Princess. Consistently.
Love it. 15. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good marching music there. You're setting a good beat. You guys are able to really march to it. It's sort of Sousa-esque almost, and it runs up and down the scales, and you do some really interesting things with the melody.
tactic in this.
Before we brought closed out the tower, I dismissed my packed weapon, and I have not resummoned it.
Is the lady with the messed up bedroll, is she the one that complimented my architecture?
It is. She is.
Okay. I'm gonna cast mending on her bedroll.
She's the friend.
She's
No, she's the dwarf.
Oh,
you have no idea why.
Okay. So you cast mending on the bedroll, and it mends a couple of the bigger rips on it. It's still looking kind of shabby and beat up, but it's better than it was. Okay. You guys go marching along through the jungle. You're making enough noise and loud enough noise that a couple of times you do hear stuff sort of dart off through the underbrush as though it was frightened away.
Probably just sound like a giant herd, so herd of something.
So yeah,
We get to the canoe.
let's find out.
Let's find out.
Yeah, you guys get to the canoes just fine by midday.
Kai shows us where the canoes are, right?
Yeah, Kai shows you where the canoes are, and I forget he's with you guys. He's been kind of quiet lately.
Yeah.
The new strangers in the family are kind of messing with it.
How many spots are there per canoe? Again, 4?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
4 per canoe. So, can we even take part of Silver and Dragon Head?
That's a good question. I mean, we have the equipment canoe that...
Okay, so 4 times 3 is 12.
I can carry
So
somebody
we can
on
take
pincers.
everyone except the 4.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that!
Is all our equipment still on the canoe that we left it on?
Seems to be.
So
Yeah.
they look undisturbed?
Yeah, they
Okay.
look undisturbed. Kai's hiding was actually pretty damn good, as I recall.
Okay. So we're gonna separate.
Why don't you tell them that, Meyer?
and Charles reaches into his inside pocket and pulls out a little paper boat.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
I forgot he had this.
If you don't mind, Dia, and he hands one end to Carol Ann, and they yank on it, and it sort of expands into a full canoe
Did
big enough
I
for the.
forget Charles has this?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Before we go, I would
You were saying.
Excuse me. Before we head off into potential danger and stuff, allow me to assist you with your wounds. And I cast Cure Wounds on all of them.
Okay.
4.
Thank you. Oh,
You share a boat.
that is
I have an alchemy too.
that is very kind of you, sir. Thank you.
So the first one is 7.
Okay.
Second one is 12.
Okay.
And 5. And 12.
Nice. Okay.
What
So
my
is this
character would
like
do.
a giant boat, or is this essentially like...
It comes out like a canoe, like a canoe about the size of the ones you guys have.
Okay. Do they fit?
Yes.
Yeah,
They all fit in it.
they
Yep.
will.
So, great, we can all travel together.
And pat you on the back.
Sorry, friend.
Just, I'm not sharing food with any of you.
That's fair point.
Was it on the table before?
I don't think it was.
No.
All right then. We'll
Yeah.
have to make
But
do.
freaking Nick, she's so nice that she'll just give everyone food.
And we've got all that crocodile meat still.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is true. That is
Yeah.
true.
And we can go back to doing the collecting water heat stuff.
Yeah, this is true as well.
So I guess they're coming with us.
I messaged
Joy.
Gideon again. they checked the map, they want to see we're not going where you told them we were going.
Did we lie to him?
No, yeah, we.
No, we didn't lie to him.
Oh, I thought you told them somewhere else.
No,
No,
I gave my sister a map.
And you didn't
showing
see
them
that.
exactly where we were going, and none of you guys know that I gave her a map.
Oh, okay.
But
We
never
we get
actually
into the
talked about lying
canoes.
to them.
And we go.
All right.
And away we go.
And away.
So from midday, how far can we go?
From midday,
Fast pace.
how far was it for you guys?
So 3 days.
How
was
many
the
how many
max.
how many hexes was it from where you guys camped down to the river?
I'm going over the map.
Was it
It was literally
was it one hex?
1 hex.
Okay.
So
Um,
you said that was half a day.
That was half a day. You can make 2 hexes the rest of the day.
Okay.
Okay, we're going just straight down.
Okay. Let me find the map. Make sure I know where you guys need to head.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
Sorry, I'm just covering in the.
You are just fine.
Yeah, you can basically go straight south. It's in the marshy area of the. It's in the marshy areas, very much like the Everglades. So a lot of sawgrass, sort of over the underlying water. There are certain patches where you bump into something that you would almost call dry land, except when you bump into it, it sort of
Comes back.
it bumps back and it floats and bobs in the water.
No, don't do that.
It opens its eye.
Every so often you will run across a clear channel that gives you a little bit faster pace through the swampy, marshy areas. About the end of the evening, about the end of the day rather, as it's getting on towards evening, you do come across a little hillock sort of in the middle of this vast plain of water that's got a little bit of a dry land. It's like 2 or 3 inches is all above the water, and you figure it's probably the only dry land for a few miles in any given direction.
Make camp.
Does it seem sturdy enough to support the tower?
Yeah, it's actual solid ground.
Okay.
It's not one of the floating sort of marshy type patches.
But maybe we should like raise the door a bit with steps in case it floods a little
That's a
bit.
good idea.
After everyone gets out of the boats, I'm going to, I'm going to be sneaky about it, but I'm going to cast Identify on their
raft?
yes.
Okay.
On their boat, or on their,
Yeah, that's a neat trick they got. Why can't you do that?
Charles has more money than me.
Okay, that's a fair
I'm
point.
trying to remember what it's called. What's that? Yeah, it's a folding boat.
Resources and skill are two very different things.
He's rolling in the dough, as you've recent.
Well, I am the better archaeologist after all.
Second rate.
alright, that's all.
Does that make you third rate then?
Go ahead.
Major tower. Can you make a fighting ring in the middle?
Yes. I like this. Okay, so, yes, I am going to, well, first, actually, I think that I am going to, I don't know how that works.
If I do minor illusion, because that one's a.
My illusion is not solid.
Oh dang! Because I was totally gonna give him a wedgie. Okay.
Yeah, that.
You need like mage hand.
Yeah.
I have that one. I'm going to mage hand a wedgie to Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, have my third inspiration.
Thank you.
I say.
I
Whew.
You okay over there?
I must have been sitting a little awkwardly in the boat this evening.
So I'm going to go ahead and start my tower spell.
Okay.
And in the middle there is going to be a rather muddy fighting ring.
Okay.
Could the outside door like elevated with steps?
Yeah, it'll be elevated. It'll still be the Vanta. Is that
Vanta black
Vanta
with the
black
stars
with
on it.
the poorly painted stars and moons all over it.
Oh, good lord, that does stand out in a swamp, doesn't it?
Just like you.
At night it'll be fine.
Stick in the mud.
It's night we worry about. So,
I'm going to have like my little kitchenette over in one area and all of that, and it looks pretty grimy and grubby and whatnot. And there will be like a little cutaway spot that will have one like clean bathing area with a nice clawfoot tub that looks like Tyre would enjoy it.
Okay.
And then on the other little part of the cutout, there would be like essentially a pit of mud for those of us who are like me. And,
That would be you.
Yeah.
exactly.
You.
And then on the upstairs, I'll do the same beds for all of you guys, and there will be 4 very, very clinical looking don't stay here long beds. But one of them will have a little vase of flowers because she said nice things to me.
Until Charles sees it.
Okay. All right.
Also, I think all of those beds are going to be in the center of the room so that everybody else can sleep around them, and if they make any noise that we don't like, we can sit up and just shoot them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
All right. Well, I suppose the rustic accommodations will do.
I know.
he called my accommodations rustic.
I slap him with mage hands.
I say, that was quite a large mosquito.
If you don't feel comfortable, you can always sleep outside.
That
I
is
love that.
always an option.
It's true. Outside
I
isn't
meant
too
no
bad,
offense.
honestly.
I meant no offense.
Usually people who say that are offensive.
Very well, and I shall retire early. And he goes upstairs and he just disappears up into the bunk room upstairs.
I like spoof mimics him obnoxiously. And plods his little goblin feet around.
You know, the goblin's starting to grow on me.
Yeah.
He does that.
Like a weird mole.
Or a tumor.
I was gonna say
Alright.
word, but yeah.
So what do you guys do for fun at night?
Would you like to play some cards?
Who said that?
That was your sister.
I mean, yeah, we play this lovely dice game. You'll enjoy it, I promise.
Sure, why not?
I don't really know what he's getting at, but I know he's getting at something, so I just like, hey.
I'm
And
gonna provide some background music with my tambourine.
I join in with the bagpipes.
Don't dance to your bizarre music.
You hear from upstairs, oh God.
Please keep playing.
No fire though, because I don't want to burn it down.
Anyone else gonna join my sister and I for a game of dice?
Absolutely.
I'm playing bagpipes.
I shall
I played
join.
my tambourine. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Is Charles
Oh,
is
no,
Charles interested in a game of chance and skill?
there's no answer.
I play
Which-
my tambourine
which is
a
his
little
answer.
louder.
Alright, so it's Elias, my sister, I assume,
Yeah.
and me.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'd like to watch.
Nope, good.
All right. So,
First round, anyway.
I mean,
Alright,
I feel
so-
like I need to buy a tambourine, you guys.
how does this work?
Oh no, she
Oh, does she?
she knows how this game works.
Okay. So that was Keith then asking, how does this work? How?
Same thing we did last time, where you just had people decide how much they were gonna bet, and we rolled to see how well
Okay.
we rolled. It's the
All
same
right.
game.
So yeah, go ahead and. So what are the stakes?
12 gold.
Life.
I don't have 12 gold.
Life? Well, what do you have?
Got a little too excited.
She sort of reaches down to a badly beaten pouch and sort of looks in. I got a couple of silver. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. I'll match it.
Okay.
Let's see how much I have.
Yeah, if I was saying.
I'll match you.
Okay.
12.
Okay. So you're going in for 12 gold. You're in for 12 gold, and
I'm matching her, whatever.
she's only in for a couple of silver. Okay. So I guess we'll you and Elias and she will. And she wins.
Okay.
Actually, I win
Well,
with a natural 20.
yeah. Okay, so you win. It's like,
Alright, there goes my
ah. Okay. Well. All right. Have fun.
That was a quick game.
We don't have that much gold.
You don't have that
Yeah,
much
you
gold.
don't have that much gold.
Oh, I feel bad for her. I toss her 5 gold.
Steven says he wants to woo Lance's sister.
Yeah, Steven says.
Play again.
What?
Whatever role needs
He
to
also
happen.
says he wants to grill my sister on architecture from home.
Okay. She's not real sure why you're asking about how her castles were or how the castle was constructed, but she, she'll answer you for sure.
And Keith will give you those answers later.
And Keith will give you those answers later because, okay, sure.
How does the wooing go?
Charisma?
Yeah, give me just a charisma roll.
He probably needs his divination rolls too.
Oh yeah. Here, let me give you one of your divination rolls. Yeah, it's a 5 and a 2, so.
Whatever she rolls, she's gonna be a 2.
Yeah, so whatever it is, she'll roll the 2, and it'll go okay. I mean, you're in the middle of the jungle. You're not on your A game, but you're making an impression.
Yes, if he marries into the family.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I knew it.
Meanwhile, Carol Ann, who has sort of stayed down, watching quietly from the corner as per usual, you'll notice that she's been very quiet and very almost shy about the whole
Is
thing.
she normally like this?
Not that you recall.
Okay.
She does. As you guys are playing the dice game, she does sort of approach and sort of just stand, not too close, but she's watching over your shoulder as the game is going on.
Yeah, I'm checking my pockets. I'm checking my stuff. Nothing?
You still have everything. She's not that close.
I'll let her soak in her own sorrows for another day.
Okay.
But she seems real mopey and sort of.
Mopey's not the right word. Cowed almost. Like she's. You get. Roll me the insight check, actually. and see how well you can read her.
I'm gonna burn one of those inspirations.
Charisma for Pyre or
That's fine. I'll
persuasion?
talk to her.
Just charisma.
Nat 20. I
Natural
like
20?
the second
Okay.
roll a lot more.
Okay. You get the sense, Sploof, that she's not normally like this. And something or someone has got her upset. Or maybe not upset. Upset's the wrong word. Something or someone is causing her to sort of draw in within herself and put barriers up. Almost as though she's trying to protect herself.
At one of the points where she goes over, like, to herself, I'm gonna plod over there and sit next to her. And I'm gonna look over at her.
So, has one of your minions upset you?
I'm assuming she's the leader of the group.
So she
She's the leader of our group.
she kind of puts her hand up and chuckles a little bit. You can tell she didn't mean to, and as soon as she realizes that she is chuckling, she sort of tamps it down and represses it and says, "Oh, I don't have minions."
Your people?
Honestly, I don't know anyone except Charles. I've been traveling with these young ladies, and I barely know them.
Are you scared of them? Because
Oh, no.
Charles is an ass.
You're not wrong. You're not
I
wrong.
know.
I'm not scared of them. No, of course not.
Why do you look like a beaten puppy?
Wait, hold on. What did you just say?
She looks cowed. She looks like a beaten puppy.
Yeah,
Oh, a
you-
beaten. I
you-
thought you said a bean puppy.
what would a bean puppy look like?
I thought she was
No,
referring
no.
to like a beanie bag puppy. I don't know.
Oh, well, may I call you Sploof?
Of course.
Have you ever been in a position where you had to hurt someone even though you didn't want to?
I think really hard. Actually, player Danny doesn't remember if Sploof has been in that situation recently.
I've known when I couldn't save someone that I wanted to. Do you have to hurt someone?
No, I did. And then she just clams up the rest of the night.
Pyre got a 14 to woo my sister.
That's not awkward at all.
No.
She will marry into this. He will marry into this throne.
She seems to be kind of going for it. So,
Lord Pyre of whatever land they conquer.
So as I'm playing the bagpipes, I go up to.
Is that necrophilia then?
Oh, you're not wrong. And I'm a little squeaked out now.
I go up to.
bravo. I don't have any left, or I would give you one.
Good.
Bravo.
Keith, I'm gonna go up onto the watchtower part as soon as fire starts. I'm out.
Okay, I'm gonna go up to the friend and hand her a flute if she would like to play with us.
Which friend?
Which friend?
His sister's
My
friend.
friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't know what to do with that.
That's easy. You just spit out to your lips and blow into it. Well, I don't know how to play the flute.
Are you getting as
Frank
confused
gives
with our mind?
Spire a really
No.
weird look, like.
And she's giving you exactly this look. You're not trying to be sort of weird, are you? And her hand goes to the sword other side.
It's a musical instrument. Would you like to play with us?
And she turns back to Pyre and completely ignores you from that point on.
Okay then.
I cough a little. Meyer, it's a little harder than just blowing into it. Just saying.
Not that hard.
I'm sorry.
No, it was going in that direction. It was going in that direction. It was going in that direction.
Sorry, there. I just channeled my inner 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
So while
Okay, go back to playing bagpipes.
since you've taken yourself to a secluded spot alone, it doesn't take long. There's a sort of the trapdoor behind you opening, and you turn and look, and there's Ariel. You got nowhere to go, Gideon.
Oh,
That's not true.
you could jump.
I could jump.
But do you want to? Do you really want
I
to?
haven't decided.
Fair enough.
You're just gonna sit there the whole time, aren't you?
Until you talk to me, yes.
Fine. Let's talk.
What would you like to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. How about the way you snuck out last time?
It was made abundantly clear I was no longer welcome.
When has that ever stopped you?
Scandalous.
I know. I feel like I shouldn't be here.
Funny, you're not.
That was different.
Yeah, it was. It took me by surprise, you know? You come to me, you start talking about otherworldly powers and putting your kingdom back together and pacts, and I got weirded out.
So are you saying you've changed your opinion?
I'm saying you didn't give me a chance to change my opinion. I don't know. I can't know. Can you give me that at least?
I suppose.
All right.
I'm gonna reach out and summon the sword. So this is new.
Yeah, it is.
So, whatever it is, and I still am not sure on that point, it wants me to find it or take this to it. One of the two. And it's somewhere here in the jungle.
You don't think it has anything to do with...
I'm gonna dismiss the sword. Honestly, I don't know. If it did, I don't know why it would have told me to come here. And I'm not much used to it dead.
Oh, that makes a certain amount of... Well... Yeah, that makes a certain amount of sense, I guess. And she sort of looks over her shoulder back down the tower, and she sees Katerina and Pyre still sort of gabbing at each other. You never told Kat, did you?
No. You didn't take it very well. I doubt she would.
You're not wrong there.
She's still worried about armies and gold, and she thinks that'll solve it.
What about you?
Well, we tried the armies thing once. That didn't go so well.
I remember.
I don't know. This seems like the best option I've been given.
Well, let's go with that then. Okay. We
All
good?
right.
We good?
Yeah.
All right. I'll leave you to it. And she turns and goes back down the tower.
That didn't come to blows or anything.
Man.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
What's the fight pit for?
I
for you and
wish
Charles.
Oh, that's true. That was more for you and Charles. I am going to my shut mouth friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go up to her later in the evening and hand her a little sliver of paper that I've written something on, and I'm gonna tell her
There was one time, and I kind of like to forget about it, but there was one time when I left to go to be trained as a wizard, because those things aren't exactly accepted where I'm from, that my brother Smirks did not approve of my choices. It's a goblin named Sharp.
No.
My name is Sploof, for crying out loud. But he thought that I was a traitor, and he made me fight because I was not allowed to leave. And if I didn't kill him, he'd have killed me. And I'm still very sad about that.
and I'm gonna stroll off. And the paper says, you did, but what matters now is what you do.
Wow.
That's deep.
I'm a deep goblin, shut up.
Okay. So she'll fold the piece of paper and tuck it sort of gently into her pouch.
Lance, do you stay up top? You
And
come back
then
down.
she climbs the ladder upstairs and then goes to bed for the evening.
Watches.
Oh, I suppose so. I'll go first.
Second.
Birdsies.
I will second.
I don't even want to know.
No, you don't.
I'll take the last watch.
Okay, last watch, second watch, first watch,
Good watch.
second, third watch. Okay,
Pyre's always there.
Pyre's always
Yeah.
there.
Probably getting out with me on top.
Yeah,
So we
so
go up to the top of the castle and look out.
yeah, so first watch is quiet. There's a little bit of gurgling and the sounds of the sawgrass sort of swaying in the breeze, and a little bit of a very slight current in the water, not a lot. This is a sort of a swampy area. It's rather on the stagnant side. There's just enough flow to keep it from going like full bore, like algae bloom, nasty. But the first watch is fairly quiet. The moon is about a quarter full, so it's
On the down slope.
Okay.
it's on the downhill slope. So it's the what is that? The first quarter, third quarter. I get those
Yeah.
confused, but it's on its way towards new moon. So it's casting a little bit of light, but not a lot. The clouds sort of skitter across it, across the face of the moon in the night. The stars, where they peek out, are fairly brilliant, twinkling in the tropical air that is still, even at night, still just as muggy as it is during the day. Second watch rolls around, and as you are on top of the tower, sort of looking out over the expanse of the swamp, listening to the breeze through the grasses and the gurgling, the soft gurgling of the water, you catch a couple of flashes of almost bioluminescence in the swampy water below you, It's just there and gone for just there for a second and then gone again. It's much too fast and much too dark to sort of catch any sort of shape or anything like that. But you see it, and then it's gone. And early in the wee hours, during third watch, day
Yeah,
4
that's right.
of the new.
day 4 of the
Day
new.
31 of the death trace.
Yet another point down.
So who's on third watch at this point? It's
Me and Pyre.
And me.
And okay, so the three of you start to see, sort of off in the distance, bobbing along on the water, torchlights.
Oh. I shall wake the others.
Are they close enough that I can see?
No, it's still just a pinpoint of light, sort of far off across the.
Do we still get a long rest?
Yeah, you still get the long
How
rest.
far out?
I start putting on my armor.
They're probably half a mile or more away from you guys.
Does it look like they're coming towards us?
It's hard to tell right now because they're moving kind of slow.
Let's hold off before we wake anyone up.
Okay.
As you kind of watch the pinpoint of light, it does for a little while look like it's getting closer, and then it sort of meanders off to one side. Then it looks like it starts coming back towards you. You kind of, from where you were the day before, you get the sense that maybe it's whatever it is has found one of those channels through the marsh, which means that probably before long, maybe right about dawn or so, they're going to wind up right where you are.
Let's wake everybody up when they're about 15 minutes out.
Yes.
Let them get their sleep.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Are you sleeping with your stuff? Like,
Probably.
Probably.
I could see that being a thing.
No, I don't trust stuff.
I don't trust people with stuff.
So right about 15 minutes or so, you rouse everybody up out of bed, and
The torches are coming.
as dawn sort of breaks, you all gather outside the tower, and you see coming through the marsh a single canoe with 4 people in it.
Do we recognize them?
You do not.
Okay.
what do these 4 people look like?
They're all humans. 3 of them look like they'd be quite at home in the jungles. Scouts, probably guides, possibly. You're not real sure. And the 4th is wearing 2 medallions on her chest. One of them is a holy symbol of Myliki, and the other
Sorry.
and the other is the emblem of the Emerald Enclave.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay.
Do we like the Emerald Enclave? Do we have opinions about the Emerald Enclave?
They're alright.
Okay.
They'll probably be less stuffy than the Order was. The Order of the Gauntlet.
Okay.
Are they heading towards us, or are they just passing by?
Well, you get the sense that they were planning to just sort of pass by. They were using the dry land as a waypoint, but seeing the group of you there,
All 16 of us.
all 16 of you, they make to put in on the on your little island. Hello there.
Curious. What is your quest?
Yes, please do this.
So the priestess seems a little taken aback, but only for a moment. She says, "Why? To rid the land of undead, obviously."
Well, that's the next question.
But why would we want to rid them all? I mean, I understand the death curse thing, but
Let's just assume they mean all the really nasty evil ones.
Yeah.
wait.
You know, like T-Rexes and stuff.
Okay.
Or wizards.
Are you friend?
We are a friend to any who would help us battle the undead hordes.
It's
I'm
paladin.
gonna lean over and be like, Fire, you should go up in the tower.
I hide my arm
Okay.
with my cloak.
Are you friend to those who wish to expunge the death curse?
Why, yes, of course.
Okay.
I do kind of like peer through the door before I open it all the way, just to make sure that they don't look like they're coming in with weapons.
No, they're not coming in with weapons drawn. They're just paddling through the marshes, and they beach their canoe right next to the three of yours. And
16 becomes 20.
you step out.
We're gonna siege Omu with an army.
Oh,
At this rate.
this is quite the operation you've got going here.
It's
Not wrong.
we like to keep it cozy. Of course, we've added a few accidentally recently.
That very rarely happens in the jungles.
What brings you this far south?
Well, and same as you, I suppose, hunting the undead, looking for their origins, so that we may put an end to the blight upon these lands.
Well, I mean, we know of the origin city, I suppose.
Were we told that the undead came from there?
I mean,
Yes.
since the curse came from there, I would assume that the undead kind
No.
of...
Didn't we
Wasn't
know that
it-
the
no.
undead
No.
came
No.
from, like, the undead
No,
were creatures?
the dead have always been around. It's just the death curse is originating from Omu, which everyone is.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
The undead has always just been going on.
So the story Bright told you, upon hearing the name Raznisi, was that he was a warlord and necromancer at one point who was looking to first sack the city of Mesro and then take over the lands of Shult. And everyone assumed that he was successful in sacking Mesro, and then just sort of disappeared into the jungles. The truth was he was repelled from there and sort of disappeared into the jungles, leaving his army of undead behind.
Gotcha.
And the army is what is
Yeah.
left.
Gotcha. I see. Poser just asked a good question that I haven't quite he has to hide his arm and stuff like that. We've died once, but we're technically not undead, right?
You've died and been resurrected, which is not the same as
Yeah.
being reanimated.
Yes.
But
There you
Like
go.
fire.
to further
With one notable
to
exception.
further
With one notable
answer
exception.
his question, I hide it because paladins destroy anything that
Smacks of undead.
yes, and
This is not a
I have
paladin.
embraced a tiny bit of evil to fight evil. But
So
still, paladins have their.
So this is
codes.
not a paladin. This is a priest.
Okay.
So this is a cleric. I mean, they're still kinda.
That just means
Yeah.
they have
Iffy.
better turn undead skills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just more.
It's a
powerful.
little iffy about the undead still, but
Mhm.
it's not a paladin.
Right.
It is a cleric.
But still.
Yeah.
That is why I'm hiding my arm.
Right.
Roger that. So yes, I will tell him
What Bright has passed on to me about Raznisi and
Okay.
whatnot, and tell him, roughly what we're up to.
Oh,
without any gigantic, like, elaborate going on.
I figure friends are friends.
I would agree with you on that point. Yes. You do seem to be quite set up. I would have offered our services, but you seem well off, and I'm not sure that you need our help necessarily.
What services do you offer?
Well, these gentlemen here are fairly good at finding place. Oh, but you have Azaka.
Oh.
I
You know
think
them?
I've crossed paths with them a time or two. They're good people.
Oh. Azaka says you're good people. I am satisfied. Azaka is good people.
So which way are you headed?
West, I believe. That's the last report we had of the deepest horde that needed a little bit of culling.
Well, we do wish you luck.
And yourselves as well.
What were your names? I'm sorry.
And DM was not prepared with names because this was a random encounter.
Bill and Ted.
You know those tres, Quattro.
Si, senor. We will lead you through jungle.
Alejandro.
Blah.
Yeah.
Just
No,
names.
it's-
Just
Yeah,
names
yeah,
given.
NPCs, not
Yeah.
My brain was like, these people might show up again, but apparently not, so we're good.
I don't know if they could now.
Yeah,
They might now, but
They're dead
it's
bodies.
one of those things that
Oh gosh.
one of those things that random names do not populate my random encounter sheet, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to fix that.
Anyway,
To be determined.
To be, I'll work on that later.
we
So
gave them
so
goodbye.
they spend a few minutes, have a quick sort of bite to eat. Seems like they've been traveling most of the night,
Okay.
and then they get on their way.
Gator seasoned with some of the things from my pantry.
And
Wow.
they're a little bit leery of the, but they eat it, and it's plenty good for them. Then yeah, true to their word, they do head off to the west.
Nice people. I like them.
Have fun storming the castle.
Shall we head out now?
I don't
Yeah.
see why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Alright, fast pace.
Yes.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
All right.
Yep.
I don't see why we
Meow, southward.
With this many people, I don't think we're ever going to go anywhere stealthy.
No.
No, so
Right,
there's no point
probably
in
not.
attempting, I don't feel like.
So you will make 3 more hexes.
Will I be able to go straight south?
Yes,
Okay.
it is still marshlands.
Right.
So it's much the same as you've been traveling for the last couple of days.
As we're traveling, I talk to you. So if you ever feel too uncomfortable with our new friends, I can cast invisibility on you for an hour. If you just want to get away.
That's useful. But I think I'll be okay.
Okay. Off the stand.
I like that. Just in case it gets so intolerable, you don't want anybody to see you, so you can just be away.
Yep.
I love making notes.
You know, as
Okay.
Lance, as not Gideon, I actually think that would be useful in most people's lives.
Oh, I think that would
Yes.
be amazing.
Right?
That would be fantastic.
That and the ability to cast silence on my coworkers.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't have coworkers because that whole self-employed thing, but there are definitely people I would use that on.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. As you travel during the day, you do see off to more or less your west that it's visible to everybody now. There's a large sort of floating bit of rock
Oh, that's right. Floating.
in the shape of an anatomically correct heart.
That was called the Heart of...
The heart of Ubtao.
Yeah, the Heart of...
And it's
it's here somewhere on my notes. More forward.
It's to the west of us.
to the west,
Avid
or
basin,
I'm sorry, it's to the east of you.
needlestones,
East of you, not west.
fires,
East of you, not west.
East of us.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
There we go.
And you're able to see it a little bit more clearly here because you're basically at your closest approach to it. And you'd swear that it actually has like streaks of red running down the side of it.
Interesting to know.
The heart bleeds for us.
Do we
It's a sign.
pass close by enough to actually like?
No, it.
No,
It's
it's
still way out
it's still
there.
way
it's
out
like
there.
2-3 days away.
Oh yeah.
Assuming we can get the canoes there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna be important later, but yeah,
Stab the heart.
let's just get where
Don't
we're
stab the
going.
heart.
I feel like stabbing the heart would probably end
Be bad.
So, I'm gonna bring our canoe up over by the by Charles' canoe.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask him a question. Where did you see the where was the dragon?
Oh, and he sort of looks around helplessly because he doesn't really know where he is right now.
Assuming you were following the river, how many days from the river?
Oh, but we did. Oh, but we didn't take the river, my dear boy.
Just
Then
call
what
you
did
my
you
dear boy.
take?
We traveled by sea. We came down the coast.
You mean you entered from? I'm not gonna show him our map. From River Taff.
I don't recall a
I would look
river.
and see if anyone else in that boat besides him actually knows where they came in. That they don't. Okay.
Yeah, none of them seem to have any idea.
So, assuming this area, oh, didn't we see a dragon in the flesh? Someone saw a
Oh,
dragon.
when we saw the dragon, if I remember right, it was just flying.
South.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere specific.
Right.
What did he call it?
Taco Bay.
What did what was it?
Speaking of your guide, what happened to your guide?
Or Hugh.
Had I mentioned the dragon?
The dragon got a
Is
snap.
mad monkey disease contagious by eating? Ajaka.
How's Dragon Bait doing with the mention of the dragon?
Doesn't
Seems fine with it.
he doesn't? I mean, he doesn't seem to be paying much attention to it. He's sort of having close conversations with artists.
Oh,
Well,
as conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's listening to artists pretty much. His whispers. What did that crazy dwarf call it?
Ajak Akhanala.
Wormheart? Was it Wormheart Mine? Yes, that sounds right, Charles.
Warm heart mine.
I'm gonna look at Elias. Put that down on the list of places we should avoid.
What was it called?
Wormheart Mine.
What race was the guide?
Dwarven.
It wasn't the.
It wasn't
the same
the
dwarf
one
that we
no,
interviewed with.
no.
No.
That was the crazy one that we would just straight up decided we weren't.
Yeah, that
allowed
was
to.
the one who they said had bad monkey disease that we were
Yeah.
just like,
Actually,
that was good.
I might have their
Have the names.
applications.
Here we go. He wasn't the one who was looking for the
Zaka,
party.
Iku, Ushinarabra, Faral and Gondola, Selindia. Oh, we didn't pick up all Hughes. I guess we just avoided his application straight up. Okay. Well. Do we have a place to camp, or is it just gonna be hammocking canoes?
Give me a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't be so hasty,
I
my
just
friend.
To assume we got there without anything happening.
No.
Hey, Meyer,
Yeah.
what's your passive perception?
Myers. Not high enough.
13.
You see it a split second before it lunges out of the water at you. The
Ooh.
biggest constrictor snake you've ever seen.
Ah!
You and I, let's have initiative,
Do
my
I,
friends.
okay.
Actually, everyone can roll initiative.
Well, if he wants to fight in a one-on-one, that'll be fun. Why? Oh, goody, goody. I always roll high on these. I always roll high on initiative. I don't know
Sometimes
why.
I miss being a ranger.
All right.
Alas.
21.
21.
Which Mountain Dew are you drinking?
Baja Blast.
It's a Baja Blast.
Ooh.
There you good?
Because they just started stocking the shelves with it.
Woohoo! I need to stock up my pantry.
19.
19. Okay. Sploof.
18.
18. Okay.
Did you
Right.
laugh at my
16?
No.
We're just sort of going right down the line
Yeah,
here.
it's like 17.
20.
And
And
you
then
broke the
there's you.
pattern.
Yep.
Gah! Okay. All right, so this enormous anaconda basically is lunging out of the water, coming at Meyer.
Bonus action. Attack, attack.
Attack, attack. Go for it.
I'm gonna use, for my first attack,
I want to skin
I'm
it.
gonna whack my clockwork amulet, go into like
I'm checking to see whose canoe you're
16 hit.
I'll take the
16.
assignment
16 will
this
hit.
time.
in. Okay, you're in a canoe with us and Azaka.
Oh, that's good.
I wrote it down at the very start of the journey who was in what canoes.
Ah,
Yes.
Should I cast Breath on Hemorrhoid and feed the snake hemorrhoid? It's not like he's gonna
12
bite down,
points
so he
of
won't take damage.
damage
I mean, assuming
on the
he
first
doesn't get
hit.
12 points. Okay.
Okay, second attack.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets in the mouth.
19 to hit.
19 will hit.
I
So
mean,
it was what?
essentially
12? It was 12
they're
12 points?
12 points.
Okay.
Eaten a lot. The prey of snakes is eaten alive. At least small things like that.
Could be a fun experiment.
And then 16 points of damage on the second one.
16 points on the second. Okay.
And that is my turn.
I have to see what kind of decision Gideon's gonna make. Ah, another poor decision. Lovely.
good.
Without thinking, he's going to summon his packed weapon and use this to attack.
You hear a gasp from your sister.
It's just a summoned sword. It's not bad.
Except it's not just a sword. It's the Aztec club of flames.
Oh, that's it. Oh.
Yeah, I should have a graphic for that so people know.
22?
22 will hit.
Oh, right, I still don't have a
Cast a
second
new
attack
spell.
yet.
I can finally cast all my new spells.
What is it?
Haste.
Oh, the haste. That's nice.
10 points of bludgeoning damage and 3 points of fire damage.
Okay.
And I'm going to make that a precision strike. So I will expend a superiority die and add that to the attack.
Okay.
Superiority die.
Let's see if we can get the chat to name the constrictor before it dies.
Yes. I think those
That's
are
7
most
more
active
points of
at the
damage.
moment. Would you like to name the constrictor before we have snake for dinner?
Sure. Go for it. Go for it, guys.
See if he can.
What is
see
this
if he
snake
can,
called?
See if he can name it before we kill it.
But I am getting the snake skin. I'm gonna.
It would be a scarf.
Big ass scarf.
I'm gonna add it to my clothing as a trophy.
Okay.
Big scarf.
And you hear the twang as Azaka is going to fire.
Go, Azaka!
That's exactly what was meant for my head.
Okay, so one of the arrows does fall short and falls in the water.
Which is really disappointing.
Disappointed.
Given that she's in the same canoe.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's me, you,
Admire in
Yeah.
one canoe.
Even
It is
with that.
attacking me.
It would probably
guys were in a canoe with Hadrian and Kai. And then it was Nyx, Sunshine, Sploof, and Brightpaw in the last one.
I think you
Okay.
did.
And so Azaka does 9 points of damage with her 2
Snake looking
attacks.
strong.
Starting to. I mean, it's happening so fast. It's hard to tell, but it's starting to. I mean, it's
Gotcha.
kind of. Its lunge is not nearly as precise as it maybe would have expected it to be.
The refraction of the light in the water.
Yeah, it's just kind of going weird. So Meyer,
Okay.
Sploof, Bright, before the snake ever gets a chance to go.
Yeah.
It's last.
It's last in the initiative order.
Geez, maybe I should save that spell then.
Make me tonight.
Just Eldritch Blast it. You'll probably kill it before we get to you.
Yeah.
It's just like chicken.
Kill the dead on it.
I don't know, my DC's kind of low. Yeah, I'll do Eldritch Blast. How about that?
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
What?
What, we're just gonna finish
don't-
it off?
You don't like me doing Eldritch Blast? Is that your thing I'm stealing?
No.
One would be a 22 to hit. The other's gonna be an 8.
So the 22 hits, the 8 does not.
Yeah.
So I assume everyone gets to see Meyer steal.
So from your sword, there's this sort of visible
Nice.
sort of swirl of energy that gets pulled off into Meyer's hands before he flings it out as the Eldritch Blast bolt.
That'd be 10 points of force damage.
All right.
Really wish you'd stop doing that.
It's not like you tries.
I tried for something different. It just
Hey,
kinda came
it's
out.
going to be more interesting to see the conversation you have with your sister.
Sploof.
Ooh. I didn't realize that.
Firebolt.
I'm gonna take some of the stuff out of the satchel that I've got for hemorrhoid for his dragon's breath, and I'm gonna put it in my own mouth. And
And you're gonna jump in the snake's mouth.
I'm not gonna jump in the snake's mouth, but I am going to scream fireball, sproof, and
Isn't that a cone?
I mean, directing it outward towards, like, how am I situated in such a way that I can hit him without hitting the other things? I would assume so.
You're in a different boat, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a snake, so like, is there not part of the snake that's?
Yeah, I mean it's jumping. It's like
It's lunging. right now.
lunging out of the water. So there's about a 10-foot length of this snake that's coming after Meyer.
Oh yeah, we're fine. So I'm gonna situate the strike so that it hits the flying snake and nothing else, and it's gonna be a dex save.
Okay.
And that's
By the way, there's 10 feet of snake leaping out of the water, and you still haven't seen the tail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I made this choice then.
So it's a dexterity save, you said?
Yes.
11.
Yeah.
It misses.
Okay, so it will take full damage then.
Yes. So 19, 20, 34.
What?
Nice.
34?
Points of damage.
Nice.
At least if
Dead
I wrote
snake.
that down right, because it should be 86, right? I believe. I'll double check just to make sure.
Was that fireball?
Yep.
Fireball?
Fireball.
Pretty sure Fireball's 86.
So there's this bright flash of light, and
Yeah.
the heat from this enormous fireball
86. Yeah.
washes over all of you as it engulfs the snake and singes
Oh.
the snake emerges from the fireball sort of does its thing and then collapses in on itself, and the snake still mid strike. By the way, all of this is happening mid strike on this thing, and it is like singed and smoking as it's coming after you, and it looks bad.
It's not
Is
dead
it the
yet,
snake's
but
turn?
it's halfway to turn.
No, it's my turn.
It's Bright's
Oh.
turn.
Finish it off.
Okay, 17 to hit.
Yep.
Okay, and it'll be 14 points of piercing damage with my short bow.
Okay.
So.
How do you want to do this?
Can I like, let's do it like through the jaw.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
the gaping jaw is coming at you, and all of this thing happens like bam, 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 and the last blow is through its mouth and through the back of its head, and you see one of Bright's arrows sort of just quivering there, and it is still mid-strike, so it's still coming, and it just sort of flops across the gunnels of your canoe, landing pretty much in your lap. There's
Grab that.
Well done.
there's 10 feet of snake. Actually, yeah, there's 10 feet of snake, like
That you
sinking
can
into that you can see,
Mhm.
and your canoe is just sort of slowly just sort of bobbing. It's about an inch or two away from the water swamping
Let
you.
go, let go, get it away.
Okay. Wow, this is really big, but man, I would love to keep the snake skin. And we need.
You're gonna sink us.
The things.
Blue, get your boat up here. get the other half of this.
Okay. I do so. And I will, like, I guess once we get where we're going, I'll happily make jerky of the snake. And
All
such.
told, the snake is probably about that big around
Nice.
and 30 feet long.
Oh,
Well, we have some extra rations now.
Yep.
And
And it has to weigh, all told, about 300 to 350
Oh,
pounds.
Goodness.
Jeez.
So are we like we just spreading this out across all the canoes?
You're gonna have to if you
Yeah,
want it.
or we're not.
Alright, we'll spread it out.
Sure.
We'll have,
I mean, it's good meat and all.
we'll have snake for dinner.
Nice shot, right?
Very
well
Excellent.
done.
I want to take some of the snake skin and like make like sleeve armor, just sleeves out of it.
Poser says we all get belts and boots.
Do you have leatherworking?
You'll have to ask
Do you have the-
Nix to do that.
Do you have the
Ooh.
leatherworking skill?
No, Nyx does though.
Nix does. Okay.
Yes.
So you'll have to tell Nix what you want, and it'll probably take her.
Oh, wow.
It'll probably take her a couple of days. She's got to skin this enormous snake, cut it up into little cut the leather up into little bits, cure it.
Okay.
It's going to be 2 or 3 days before that's
I'll
ready
get
for
with
you.
her and we can talk about that.
Do you find during the night, do you find a patch of land to tower up, or is it just going to be a hammock?
Evens or odds?
Odds.
Odds.
It is terrible.
You are lucky enough to find another little low hillock that you can put the tower up on overnight. And I know it's a little bit early tonight, but I think we're going to leave it there for the night. That's a good place to stop. You guys are camped for the night. We've got some interpersonal stuff going on, and I want to have a little bit more time to sort of see how this plays out. So I'm going to have to work on that and get my wheels going for you guys. Thank you so much for showing up and watching us. I don't know about the rest of these guys. I kind of had fun. This was sort of an interesting little session. We will be back next week. Hopefully we'll have our Chirins back with us, and we'll be able to continue our adventures through the jungles of Schult. Thank you so much for stopping by. Do look for the back episodes on our YouTube channel. If one of you guys want to put that up in the chat for me, that's awesome. All of our back episodes, and before we hit episode 20, we're going to make sure that we start doing the recaps so that you guys can sort of catch up a little bit quicker and not have to worry about doing 60 some hours of content to try and get caught up to where we are. Do continue supporting us here on the channel. We're going to be adding a whole lot of stuff in the coming weeks and months as we start to build this up a little bit more. Got a whole lot of ideas. Those can be found, some of the starter ideas, I should say, can be found on our Discord channel, The Happy Little Dungeon. And if you have any suggestions at all, that we'll gladly entertain those as well. We will be back right here on Twitch, Casual Cactus, next week, Tuesday, 5:30 Mountain Time. I guess I can say Mountain Daylight Time now, because we're back into daylight savings time. Boo. So I leave it up to you guys to do the
Appropriate maths.
the appropriate maths and the conversions to your time zone. We look forward to having you here with us, and just remember, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a glass house. Good night, everybody.